What is going on, guys? BASSFZz here, and today I'm doing a Patreon requested video to talk about the character Rorschach.
Rorschach's Journal, October 12th, 1985. Dog carcass in alley this morning. Tire tread on burst stomach. This city's afraid of me. I've seen its true face. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up around their waists. And all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll whisper, "No."
Now, to be completely honest, I have no idea why the individual asked me to talk about Rorschach. However, I'm glad he did, because out of the entire cast of the Watchmen movie and comic book, Rorschach's actually my favorite character. For those of you who do not know, Rorschach is a vigilante from the movie Watchmen. He was obviously characterized by the Rorschach mask on his face. The mask is a representation of his moral outlook on the world, which is a black and white look of good and evil, where he believes evil must be punished. The most interesting thing about the character Rorschach is the fact that there is no moral ambiguity existing in his mind, partly because he's a sociopath, and he lives by a code to never falter even in the face of demise.
Rorschach's Journal. First visit of evening fruitless. Feel slightly depressed. Soon there will be war. Millions will perish in sickness and misery. Why does one death matter against so many? Because there is good and evil must be punished, even in the face of Armageddon. I will not compromise in this.
Simply put, Rorschach is the realest nigga in this entire movie. Now, I guess to do a quick review of the movie, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it in its entirety. I think it's a really bleak look on superheroes, and really they weren't superheroes, they're just vigilantes, and that's all fine and well, but me personally, it's not really my taste. But Rorschach did make watching the movie worth it. Honestly, he's definitely my favorite character out of the entire cast. So what makes Rorschach such a great character, in my opinion? Well, one of the most important things I find about Rorschach is the fact that out of all the characters, in case you don't know, if you haven't seen the movie, there's definitely going to be some spoilers. It's not really possible to talk about Rorschach without spoilers. So, one of the best things I found about Rorschach is in the beginning of the film, he's the only vigilante that's still working after an anti-vigilante act was passed to outlaw superheroes. Because in the Watchmen universe, superheroes was actually a pretty big thing, and people were rather fond of using them for war and whatnot. So after they were outlawed, Rorschach was the only one who kept being a vigilante because, and personally from the way I see it, is he felt that he was the only one who could do it or should do it. He was the only one who could really get the job done, I think he felt, which I think is very interesting. One of the best parts about his character is the fact that he's a very unyielding individual, and once he puts his mind to something, he's probably going to get it done. It's part of the reason that makes him the realest nigga in the entire movie. Everyone else in the movie I found really didn't even have much of a moral compass. I think Rorschach's the closest person to really having, well, I mean, not even the closest. He's really the only one that really sticks by his guns at the end of the movie, which ultimately gets him killed by Dr. Manhattan, which is a character. I fucking hate Dr. Manhattan.
Famous, right? You know what? I'm pretty famous too. Ain't that right? That's right. You know, maybe I can give you an autograph, huh? What you say, big boy?
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. That's it! You're locked in here with me!
The reason why Rorschach is pretty much the best character out of the entire movie is because he moves the plot. Without Rorschach, there would be no Watchmen movie. It'd just be a bunch of people, twiddling their thumbs and not doing any damn thing. I think ultimately, even though it is his black and white look on life that got him killed, it makes him the most principled character, and in my opinion, therefore, the most respectable character. One thing that also gets Rorschach a couple of points is the fact that he pisses off liberals because he's really hardcore right wing conservative, which I find very interesting. But then again, there ain't really much that can piss off liberals. So there's just that fact there that you get mad at a character as awesome as Rorschach. And I'm not even right wing. I just find that fucking hilarious. But one of the best things I found about I think Watchmen is probably the best medium you could see a character like Rorschach. Rorschach can only really exist in a bleak, dark kind of world. He isn't really a superhero, like Spider-Man that inspires hope in people. No, I mean he's more like the reality of what being a vigilante would be, which I think is a very interesting take. If a sociopath did become a superhero or a crime fighter, this is pretty much how he would be. He'd be Rorschach. Now again, so the reason why I think Rorschach he's my favorite character because like I said, he moves the plot and he gets everything done. Old punk ass Dr. Manhattan who could have probably stopped the entire plot of the movie didn't really do shit until the end, and even then still didn't do anything. I mean, like Dr. Manhattan, his old Fire Lord Ozai looking head ass, has all of the power to do whatever he wants.
You are right. I do have the power. I have all the power in the world.
I mean, he has all the power to do something about what's going on and to stop everything that's happening. He doesn't do anything. Even Night Owl doesn't do much of anything until Silk Spectre comes along, and Silk Spectre and Night Owl, I mean, their side story was pretty much just about this nigga was the beta male rebound, right? Like, Silk Spectre broke up with the guy he was too obsessed with his work, Dr. Manhattan, and then went with the rebound, Night Owl, and he was just happy to get some pussy finally, and that's their side story, which was very uninteresting to me. I don't give two shit flying fuck about Silk Spectre or Night Owl. I mean, I just find them to be very boring characters, and they didn't do much for the plot other than help Rorschach get out of jail, which he was already working on anyway. So, that's one reason why I dislike them. And I mean, I guess the movie was written that way, but it does seem that Rorschach was pretty much, if not the main character, then the thread that kept the plot moving. And so that one reason why I just can't stand Dr. Manhattan, not even just for the fact that he ended up killing Rorschach, but just the fact that he didn't do anything. I mean, Dr. Manhattan really could have used a conversation with Peter Parker.
Whatever life holds in store for me, I will never forget these words. With great power comes great responsibility.
I mean, hell, even Rorschach himself acknowledges that the whole thing would have been stopped, or if Dr. Manhattan would have done something, or if he started to care.
If you'd cared from the start, none of this would have happened.
I do find it very convenient how at the end of the movie, Dr. Manhattan finally decides it's a good time to do something, and what does he do? He kills the badass, the most interesting character in the movie, because reasons. Well, no, I mean, it's much more complex than reasons. I'm just a little butthurt that Rorschach had to die. And so, I mean, and that's the thing about the dynamic between Rorschach and all the other characters. It's ultimately that bleak, black and white look of reality that got him killed in the end. Because, I mean, the ultimate plan was to get peace through a lie of framing Dr. Manhattan from destroying everything, and since Dr. Manhattan didn't give a crap about humanity anyway, it really wouldn't have bothered him that so many people died, which is part of Ozymandias' plan, and everyone would be scared and have to focus on making sure Dr. Manhattan didn't kill him anymore. I mean, it was just a good plan, except that millions of people died, and the only people who knew what happened was Silk Spectre, Night Owl, Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandias, and Rorschach. And of course, again, Rorschach could not falter under anything, and that is what got him killed in the end. It was his unyielding drive to do the right thing, or to punish evil, that got him destroyed. Except Rorschach's journal was given to a publication at the end of the movie, so we don't know if it got published or not, but I hope so, because then that would mean Rorschach got the last laugh.
It's new utopia. What's one more body amongst foundations? What are you waiting anymore.
I mean, in the end, Rorschach was the best character because he got shit done. That's why he's my favorite character. You know, he was the only guy who was putting in work. You know, I think one of the best parts I found about Rorschach is taking a look into his mind and seeing really, you know, how much he genuinely cared about, you know, what's right and what's wrong. I think the comic book portrayed his change into Rorschach a little better when he left the guy in a burning building with a meat cleaver and the guy never came out. But I mean, in the movie, he just straight up killed him. So, I mean, me personally, I think the comic book did that a little better. But overall, I think they portrayed Rorschach very well. I liked the character. He got things done. He was the most interesting character since he was the only one doing stuff. I mean, Night Owl, old beta male looking some bit. Silk Spectre, she was just a hoe. I mean, she's just going between Night Owl and Doctor Manhattan. No, I'm kidding. I'm slut shaming. I'm joking. But I didn't really find her very interesting. Then, like I said, old punk ass Manhattan, who could have saved everybody, decided not to give a shit until the very end, and then he decides to kill the realest nigga in that movie. So, yeah, I mean, if the individual who asked me to make this video dislikes Rorschach, then I'm sorry. I'm rather fond of him. I think he's pretty much the best character in that movie. He got things done. You know, the interesting thing about Rorschach, though, I can say, I probably would make a character like Rorschach. And the interesting thing I find is Rorschach's actually very close to, he could have actually ended up being a bad guy, you know, especially if you look at his background. Originally, he was abused by his mom. His mom was literally a whore, you know, got paid to have sex. And that's what caused him to have such a disdain for what he calls the scum of society. You know, if one wrong thing would have happened to Rorschach, he could have been on the opposite side. He could have been like the Joker, or he could have been some villain, some bad guy that someone had to stop instead of being the good guy, or at the very least, not a good guy, a vigilante who punished what he thought was evil, you know. And I think that's one thing that adds complexity to a very cut and dry character. You know, someone who believes that there's good and there's evil and there's no moral ambiguity. So, yeah, personally, I think we probably need a lot more people like Rorschach in the world. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like sociopaths, but people who get things done. Rorschach's definitely a character I probably would have created eventually. It's very similar to a character I did create in terms of morality, but not quite the same. Just in terms of morality, which is I guess one reason why I like Rorschach so much. He reminds me of something I would probably make, but he'd definitely be on the opposite ends of the main character that I have written about. But that being said, I definitely enjoyed watching Rorschach and paying attention to him. I also like the way he talks. And like I said, I mean, ultimately when it comes down to Rorschach is he got shit done. And that's the best part about his character. So, yeah, like I said, the individual who requested this video wanted me to dislike Rorschach. I'm sorry. I'm actually quite fond of him. And to everyone else, thanks for stopping by and listening to me talk about this character. So with that being said, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, man, go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, have a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.